Okay, so a really quick video on how to make scones today. I have my baking tray ready here. I'm using kind of reusable non-stick paper, or you can use like a silicone mat. If you don't have one of them, just a sheet of greaseproof paper to bake your scones on. I have all my ingredients weighed out already here. So I'm starting with 225 grams of plain flour and 1 teaspoonful of baking powder. If you have self-raising flour, you can use that either. So I'm going to sieve this into my mixing bowl, and to that I'm going to add my butter or margarine. I'm using margarine today, so it is 50 grams of margarine. So I have my margarine here. I'm going to add it into my mixture, and I'm going to use a knife to start with, and I'm just going to use my knife against the side of the bowl just to break it into small little cubes and kind of coating them all in the flour as we go. You can let your butter or your margarine come to room temperature before you start making your scones as well. So once you have finished cutting in your margarine and you have it all broken down into small pieces, we're going to rub it in. So we're making our scones using the rubbing in method. So I'm just using my fingertips. I'm lifting the flour and pieces of margarine up out of the mixing bowl, and this is helping to introduce air into the mixture as well. So this is what helps our mixture become nice and light and fluffy. So once your mixture looks like fine breadcrumbs, so there's no massive lumps left in it, you're ready to add your sugar next. And one of the great things about having your ingredients pre-weighed out is you can actually use the sugar to clean off your fingers. So you can see there's a bit of flour stuck to my fingers. There's no flour on the palms of my hands though. So when you're rubbing in, you're only using your fingertips. So we're going to use 25 grams of sugar in this recipe here. If you just rub the sugar between your fingers, it takes any of the big lumps of flour and butter off your fingers. And then I'm going to wash my hands, and then we'll start mixing the rest. Okay, so I always mix scones just with a butter knife. So I'm just going to stir the sugar that I added through the mixture there. And then to this, I'm going to add my egg and milk mixture. So there's 1 egg and about 6 tablespoons of milk in this jug here. So I'm going to add it a little bit at a time to a well in the centre, and I'm just going to use my knife to bring the mixture together. So I'm just working in the centre where the egg mixture is and pulling the flour into it. As the mixture starts to look a little dry, then you can add your next bit of egg. Again, ready for my next bit. And sometimes you might find you need to add extra milk as well, depending on the mixture. You don't want it to be too dry. Now, so once your mixture comes together in a soft dough and the edges of the bowl have kind of cleaned themselves, we are ready to kind of roll out our mixture. So I'm going to just clear my little bit of worktop here. I am just going to sprinkle a tiny dusting of flour. I'm just using my sieve just to spread it out. And then I'm going to turn my mixture out onto the flour. Now you can roll this out with a rolling pin and use kind of scone cutters. I'm just going to dust another little bit of flour on top there. What we're going to do is we're going to do triangular scones, which would be like very traditional Irish shaped scone actually. So I'm just going to coat the outside of my dough in the flour. Just another little sprinkle in there. I'm going to knead it very gently. So the less you handle a scone mixture, the better. So just to flatten out all of the curves, I'm going to make it a nice round shape and then flatten it ever so slightly just with the palm of my hand. So I'm not actually going to use a rolling pin on this at all. Once I have my circular shape, I'm going to get just a little pile of flour here to dip my knife in, and I'm going to cut it into pizza slices. So all the way across the middle. And you might find it might be a little bit softer, a little bit stickier in the middle, so just keep dipping your knife in the flour. I'm going to make 8 scones out of this mixture, so I'm going to cut it each side into 4. Trying to keep them in as evenly sized as possible so that they bake evenly. Now I'm going to transfer my scones onto my baking tray, giving them a little bit of space just to rise in the oven. And then I'm going to glaze them with the end of my egg and milk mixture that I was adding to them. So I'm just going to use a pastry brush in the end of the egg mixture. If you didn't have any egg or milk mixture left over, just a drop of milk will do. There's no need to crack an extra egg just to glaze them with. If you wanted to make fruit scones, you could have added some raisins or sultanas. Another really nice kind of addition to scones is glaced cherries that you'd kind of add to fruit cakes. Also really nice in scones, but we're just doing plain ones for today. And last but not least, I'm going to sprinkle just a pinch of sugar onto the top of each of my scones. And that just gives them a really nice crispy topping when they come out of the oven. So I'm only using probably about a teaspoonful, maybe 2 teaspoonfuls for all of them, just a very small little sprinkle after you've glazed them. They are ready to go into the oven, so they're going to go into the oven for 15 to 20 minutes until they are risen in a nice golden brown colour. Now, so I've just taken these out of the oven. While they were in the oven, I got all my wash up done. So I'm going to leave them to cool on a wire cooling rack, and then they could be served with a little pot of butter, a little tub of cream, and a little jar of jam as well.